Kickoff weekend for the UFL Renegades versus the Stallions on Fox. Joining us for a preview is Executive Vice President of Football Operations, Daryl Johnston. Daryl, welcome back for another year. First question, what can we expect from this merger of the XFL and the USFL?
Thanks for the time today. I think the biggest thing this season is going to be the improvement in the depth across all 8 teams. That was probably the hardest part of the merger, going from 16 teams down to 8. And it was our responsibility to make sure that we did the best job of getting the best players back into the UFL family. So I had 2 different mechanisms. We did a sole USFL acclimation of players. We did an XFL one, and then we did another one we crossed over. And I think the big thing that came out of that is the depth that we created through all 8 teams. And, you know, we actually cut some starters from last year during training camp process. We've got starters that are playing backup roles this season. So I think the one thing that fans are going to see right away is the quality of play, the talent on the field. And then if by chance we were to have an injury, that there's depth behind that to maintain that style of play.
So that's exactly where I wanted to go, Daryl, because when 40 years ago, when the original USFL came about, it was a different dynamic because some of the best players in the world were opting for that over the NFL, obviously. That is not the model of the current spring football league, and so having 2 competing leagues all competing for the same players always struck me that it was going to be hard. Now that you have one united league and fewer teams, how much of an obvious, to the fans watching, almost visual cues of an improved level of play do you expect we're going to see this spring?
I think it's going to be very obvious. And you're exactly right, Nick. And I've said this before. This is going to be the most talented spring rosters you've seen since the early 80s when it was Reggie White and Steve Young and Mike Rozier and Herschel Walker, Doug Flutie. Now, I'm not saying we got Hall of Famers in our group right now, but what I am saying is because of the merger, the league is going to be very deep. It's going to be very talented. And you're going to notice that right away. In the 2 areas I think you'll see it the most, number 1, quarterback, and number 2, offensive line. And those are the 2 most critical areas. And if you're going to have good football, you've got to have good play in those 2 areas. And I think you're going to see an improvement across the league in both of those positions.
Well, Daryl, we've also seen guys go from both leagues to the NFL and have success. Kevontae Turpin, Brandon Aubrey, the kicker, both Pro Bowlers last year. Who are some of the guys we should keep our eyes on this year that could get to the NFL eventually?
I think that's going to be the fun thing, because when you mention those 2 guys' names, those are 2 names that I probably wouldn't have picked year 1 or year 2. So I expect it to be somebody that kind of comes up, from the bottom of the pack, maybe somebody in a position you didn't anticipate, kind of like Brandon last year. At kicker, Colby Wadman's a punter. This will be his 3rd season in spring football. He was been with Birmingham all 3 years, and we were at practice earlier in the week, and I was talking to Skip Holtz, and he is just bombing the ball, punting it. And I asked Skip, I said, are you surprised that he hasn't gotten a better look in the NFL? And he was in agreement. So, that's one of those one-offs to maybe keep an eye on. But I think John Atkins in Memphis, talking to Dennis Polian, he's very, very high on him. Steve Kaiser is very high on Kenny Willekes, the edge guy coming off, for Michigan. Jared Jones-Smith, a big left tackle, has been in a lot of the spring football iterations over the last 5 years. He's another guy to keep an eye on. He was a late holdout, came to us late this year coming into training camp because he was hoping for a better opportunity in the NFL. So we got a couple of guys that we got our eyes on, but I really think it's always some of those guys that you least expected.
Daryl, technology last year, you debuted a lot of new stuff. Do you have other stuff in the cooker for the game broadcast this year?
Just trying to make an improvement on what we've done so far. So we've added a little bit. We have more players with the ability to talk to the coaches, and we've been way ahead of that this year. Scott Hardiman and Brad Campbell have done a great job, on the IT side with everything that we're doing, and giving our coaches and our players reps during the course of training camp to get comfortable with that. But we can get up to 8 players, on the field with the ability to talk to the coaches. My favorite has been the ability to watch the video during the course of the game on the sideline. When I played, we had still photos, and, if it's not shot in the right sequence, you're trying to convince your coach, listen, the safety came from over here. I need to know where he was. How did I miss him? How did I not see him? with our guys on the sideline, being able to go through and watch the play with live video, you get to see the entire play develop. You know, what was the disguise? How did they rotate? Where did the blitz come from? And then our quarterbacks have actually said, you know, I watch it so much on the sideline during the course of the game that when I watch it with my coach on Monday, I'm seeing it for the second time. So I'm a lot further down the road in understanding that. So I think it's something that the NFL should really take a long, hard look at. The NCAA put it in the bowl games last year. It was something they did, having some of the live video on the sideline last year in the bowl games. And I know it's helped our players a lot. And with the access that we grant to our production teams with Fox and ESPN and ABC, our sideline reporters a lot of times are right there while they're talking about things and describing things and asking questions and really kind of bringing that viewer kind of in that sideline huddle to find out exactly what happened on those plays.
Yeah, that was cool last year. All right, well, thank you very much, Daryl. We'll be watching Stallions Renegades, 1 o'clock on Fox. Thanks again.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get more from the show and to check out clips from other shows on FS1.